And ladies and gentlemen, more skeletons are tumbling out of the Delhi teen rape case closet. It seems that the officer handpicked by the Delhi Minister Kailash Gehlot as an officer on special duty in 2022 was a habitual offender. Times Now's accessed clinching documents that reveal not one or two, but that there were 4 cases of sexual harassment filed against him in 2019. But every time, the internal committees gave him a clean chit. Now, the first complaint of sexual harassment was filed against Premoday Khakha in May 2019, but he was cleared of the charge by the internal committee, saying that the allegations couldn't be proved. The complainant approached the High Court and the next hearing is scheduled for September. The second complainant has filed in March 2019, which was also quashed by the internal committee of the Delhi Women and Child Development Department, citing no evidence. In another complaint, the internal panel said that the allegation against Khakha hadn't been proven. Yet another complaint against Khakha was rejected by the Vigilance Branch and the Delhi Department of Women and Child Development as fake. But what's interesting is that despite these 2 cases of sexual harassment, at least that were pending against Khakha in court, he was handpicked by Delhi Minister Kailash Gehlot to be his OSD in March 2022. He continued in this position until March this year. Breaking news coming in. Who was trying to shield Premoday Khakha? Well, one of the complainants who approached the High Court detailed her petition that there was an attempt to protect Khakha, and even the Delhi Women's Panel Chief didn't pursue the case diligently as per law. She says that the DCW issued 6 emails to a fictitious ID related to her mail address. Let's take Tejshri across for more on this particular story. Tejshri, can you just explain to us what exactly is the meaning of what this particular victim is saying? Because we've seen Swati Maliwal come out. She had gone to the St. Stephen's Hospital, protested there, spent a night also saying that she's not being allowed to meet the victim. The larger question is that if one of the other victims of the harassment that was meted out by Khakha has come out now to say that she approached the Delhi Commission for Women, but there was no relief coming her way. So what exactly is happening here? Tejshri.
Particular case, she being the DCW chief, we have seen her that she was there at the hospital itself, at the St. Stephen Hospital. She had spent an entire night over there. She was again and again complaining and mentioning the fact that she is not being allowed to meet the minor, she is not being allowed to meet the family, and until unless she is not allowed, she'll not go. Times Now even had asked her then that how is it even possible that she being the DCW chief, she was not aware that what is happening in her own department, how she was not aware about the FIR being filed on 13th of August. And now here comes the statements of these complainants who had filed complaints back in the year of 2019, specifically in the month of January, where clearly the main complainant, while speaking to Times Now exclusively, she says that it was the DCW to whom I mentioned about this entire incident. I went myself to speak to the officials. I have even filed a complaint. The officials over there, the team of DCW had told me that yes, they will fix a meeting between me and Swati Maliwal, because whatever was going on in that office was not tolerable at all. It was beyond their limit, and that is why she wanted to meet DCW chief, but meeting did not take place. She also mentioned that number of times she was called for the meeting, for the cases here, for the hearing of the cases. She went, but then as of now there has been no result as far as this particular case is concerned. What's shocking is she also told that this particular person, Khakha, was so influential in his department that each and every decision was taken only according to his will. Whatever he had said, that only the officials had to follow. Number 2, what the complainant had also mentioned, that after filing the complaint, she was transferred from that particular office. Number 2, after the transfer, the second day when she went to that office where she was transferred, the door was shut when she was entering that particular premise of that office. And today she is jobless. This is how she had to suffer on complaining about a particular officer when she went to DCW, and still she mentions that there has been no response from anyone so far, and that they do not believe in any kind of system.
This is very, very significant. Very, very significant that you've mentioned over here that the victim of harassment was further victimized because she chose to speak out against Khakha, the errant officer, or the predator rather, as we're calling him here in Times Now, who was very clearly someone who had a pattern of misdemeanor, misbehavior. All right, and I believe we have some more updates coming in on this particular story. This is some more details coming in of what these four individuals who have complained against Khakha have had to say. Niyamika is coming on this aspect as well. Niyamika, very, very important that here is a person who in fact has come out, has in fact been promoted even and given the responsibility to look after litigation charge of ICDS, ICPS and WCD departments in the year 2020, despite the fact that there were 4 complaints in 2019. Niyamika.
Mic on nahi hai.
Well, absolutely, and that is the most shocking part here is because despite of the fact that 4 complaints were being registered against this particular person, even after that continuously a promotion was being given to Premoday Khakha, and for that matter even Times Now has also spoken to one of the complainants, and she has also mentioned it very clearly that she had made this complaint to the secretary. She had spoken to even the DCW, and even after that no appropriate action was being taken against Premoday Khakha, and he was being continuously being there at the key position within the department, and even the internal committee which was being set up to investigate into this entire matter, even that committee had also mentioned that there was no enough evidence. That is what they have stated in their report. But when we have spoken to the complainant, she has clearly mentioned that there were 3 people who had given their statements in this matter. They have given their statements against Premoday Khakha, and despite of their statements, the decision which is being taken on the part of internal committee had stated that there were no enough evidence for that matter which can take this forward, which can take this action through which any action can be taken against Premoday Khakha, and that was the reason why she had approached to the High Court. But the most important part here, which she has mentioned in the this conversation with Times Now, this exclusive.
Right, we'll have to leave it at Niyamika. And also, of course, very important that one of those complaints is even noted in her affidavit to the High Court that even despite the fact that she wanted to complain, initially she found that the legally mandated internal complaints committee as per Vishaka guidelines did not exist. This is what she has submitted before the court. Of course, we'll have to get in the version of the government on that aspect as well. But Niyamika and Tesh, I'd like to thank both of you for joining us because you have spoken to several of the victims who were at the receiving end of the predator, who you see the picture of. This is Premoday Khakha, who very clearly now, there's no two ways about it, is somebody against whom there are a large number of complaints. And let me take this question across to several of our guests who are with us. With us is Neeti Jain, BJP spokesperson. Brinda Adige, activist, is with us. Also with us is Romesh Sabarwal of the Congress Party. Zeeshan Haider is a political analyst joining us. Akil Khan is also a political analyst joining us, as is Anirban Banerjee, political analyst. Let me start first and foremost with the activist on the panel, Brinda Adige. In your experience of fighting for rights of women, have you come across such a case? Here is a person who has harassed 4 women. There are complaints at least against him in any event, and 2 of them continue to be pending. 2 of them perhaps were disposed of. But despite that, in 2020, he gets promoted. He gets several charges, including the WCD department. He's later made an OSD to the minister. And now, of course, this pattern of predatory behavior, perhaps he chose to practice in his own house, where he did not even spare a minor girl. What's most shocking is that all of these red flags were completely ignored by the system, and even by the Delhi Commission of Women, as per the latest information coming in from one of the complainants, who said that she knocked on the doors of the DCW, and despite all the song and dance and drama that we've seen coming from Swati Maliwal, it does appear that even Swati Maliwal has to account now for her department or her commission's actions.
Yes, Madhav, yes, I have come across several cases, and like you pointed out just now, Swati Maliwal and the entire DWCD has to be held accountable, because this is a sordid state of affairs. It is deep web of conniving and conspiracy, because like you mentioned, this guy has been having access, and complaints against him have not been taken seriously. which also means that this guy is very influential. This sexual predator is very influential. That is why none of these complaints have come to any kind of a logical conclusion. And yes, when we see cases of this nature, it is very, very difficult until and unless you have on the POSH committee a very strong and upright person, because from the civil society, every POSH committee must have one person who is an external member. Now, you have also showed on your channel that the DWCD does not seem to have had any kind of a IC over there. So there is no POSH committee with them. But the most shocking is that Swati Maliwal, who is known to raise issues constantly about these kind of cases, has completely does not have any clue about this predator. And all of them must be booked. Nobody should be spared. No ignorance can be accepted. No excuses can be accepted. Each and everybody at different levels, because this guy has got promotions one after the other, and today he is OSD, which means a lot of people are involved in this. Now,
well, he is not currently the OSD level, set the record straight. He is an officer in the WCD department, but he has served as a previous minister's OSD for a period of about 11 months, if I'm not mistaken. But let me take that question across to Zeeshan Haider. Zeeshan Haider, what is happening? How can anybody justify this kind of act of omission, where a person who is accused of harassment is repeatedly promoted within the system? ये हो क्या रहा है, सर?
जी हाँ, सबसे पहले तो मैं टाइम्स नाउ का बहुत ही शुक्रगुजार हूँ, आभारी हूँ. आई एम रियली वेरी थैंकफुल टू टाइम्स नाउ दैट दे इनवाइटेड मी. और इस डिबेट में बस सबसे पहले मैं यही कहना चाहूंगा कि देखिए, जो कुछ दिल्ली में हो रहा है वो सारी दुनिया में देखा जा रहा है और सारी दुनिया उसको देख रही है. लेकिन स्पेशली जो केजरीवाल जी हैं, उनका जो काम, उनका जो अंदाज है हर चीज का, उसको देखने के बाद कहीं ना कहीं ये लगता है कि षड्यंत्र के इतनी जबरदस्त तरीके से वो शिकार किए जा रहे हैं.
जवाबदेही नहीं है केजरीवाल सरकार की. जिन लोगों ने चुन के आपको लाया है सरकार में, उनके प्रति आपकी कोई जवाबदारी नहीं है. कैसी बात कर रहे हैं आप? षड्यंत्र बता रहे हैं. एक ऑफिसर यहां बार बार विमेन हैरेसमेंट करता है और उसको आप प्रमोट करते हैं और आप कह रहे हैं षड्यंत्र है. कमाल का लॉजिक आपका.
देखिए जो दोषी है उसके खिलाफ तो जाहिर सी बात है एक्शन लिया ही जाएगा.
क्या एक्शन लिया जाएगा सर? आप रेवड़ियों की तरह उसको पोस्ट पे पोस्ट दिए जा रहे हैं और आप कह रहे हैं एक्शन लिया जाएगा.
जी, दूसरी सबसे बड़ी बात यही है कि हर चीज को लाकर एक ऐसा ठीकरा फोड़ा जाता है और खासतौर से यह भी कहा जाता है कि साहब केजरीवाल से पुलिस उन्हें दीजिए, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर किसका है उसे बताइए, और सारी चीजें करने के बाद जो सामने है सच्चाई बिल्कुल अपने आप आ जाएगी.
सर, सबसे डरावनी बात यह है कि पुलिस तो नहीं है आपके पास, लेकिन जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव पावर्स आपके पास है उन पे भी सवाल उठ रहे हैं कि पिछले 4 साल से जो सर्विसेज पे इतनी ज्यादा लड़ाई चल रही थी एलजी और केजरीवाल सरकार के बीच में, व्हाट हैज बीन हैपनिंग.
ठीक है, लेकिन यही मैं सबसे पहले यही कहना चाहूंगा कि आप ये देख लीजिए कि अभी सुप्रीम कोर्ट ने जब कह दिया कि भाई ये इनको हर चीज का मतलब जो है ये ट्रांसफर कर सकते हैं वो, और उसके खिलाफ एक विधेयक ला दिया गया, उसके खिलाफ एक मतलब जो है एक कानून बना दिया गया, और केजरीवाल के जो भी हाथ हैं उनको बांधा जा रहा है इस तरह से कि वो कोई काम भी नहीं कर पा रहे हैं इसी वजह से. तो आप खुद ही सोचिए कि मतलब जो है पुलिस आपकी है, लॉ एंड ऑर्डर आपका है, उसके बावजूद भी आप ये समझ लीजिए कि हर तरह से घुमा फिरा के आप मतलब जो है उन्हीं को कटघरे में खड़ा
Zeeshan Haider, I can just say this. I can only say this today on national television that whoever was in charge of the WCD department and the functioning of the department, all the successive ministers and collective accountability of the cabinet is there. All those associated with the cabinet seriously have to account. But since you have raised the question of Delhi LG interfering in services, I'm going to allow Neeti Jain to come in on this. Neeti Jain, here you have Zeeshan Haider who says that there is a Shadyantra. Then he says that because the LG was repeatedly interfering in the services department, this shows why the Kejriwal government was not able to act as it should have been able to act. Please respond to him.
I think it is absolutely ridiculous what this man has been speaking, to politicize this matter where a girl has been raped repeatedly by this man, and you think this is a Shadyantra against Arvind Kejriwal. Sir, I think to the least you should be shameful about whatever you have spoken right now, and I say that as a woman, irrespective of whatever political party this is coming from. At least have a little bit of shame, and this is not the first time that Aam Aadmi Party is standing in this Katgara, because there have been a lot of other sexual harassment cases that have been levied on a lot of MLAs and the workers of Aam Aadmi Party. There was a girl who committed suicide because apparently she was told ki compromise kar lena chahiye or something like that. And there was a case that happened like that. There was Amanatullah Khan. There is a minister in Punjab right now who has cases against him. There is Prakash Jarwal, Dinesh Mohani, और ये 5 minutes में, in the last 5 minutes when the report was going on, this is a general Google search that I have done. So just do that. And you think this is a षड्यंत्र against Arvind Kejriwal? Sir, LG कहाँ से आगे जब इनको लेकर आए थे उस time पर तो the services bill was not happening. He was handpicked by your Kailash Gehlot to be the OSD. For a person who has 2 cases in High Court, he was brought in the Women and Child Development Department.
Right.
The question today is, were they actually abetting the entire matter? That is also a question that you should answer.
Let me bring in Anirban Banerjee. Anirban Banerjee, you know, I'm not going to get into, you know, this BJP versus AAP fight because, you know, that is completely irrelevant. It is completely irrelevant in a case where there are so many gross irregularities. Because how can a person who is accused of harassment 4 times, you know, the Delhi Commission of Women today says that she is fighting for the case of this young teen girl, and perhaps rightly so. But the conduct of this individual should have been known to Swati Maliwal because she is one of the respondents in the petitioners of one of the earlier victims of the same person's harassment. If there is an internal complaints committee, how is it possible that the Delhi Commission for Women doesn't know that there are these complaints against this one officer in the WCD department accused of harassing women? Can you believe it?
Yeah, exactly. We probably, irrespective of our political ideologies, we all share a concern for women's safety, and therefore, when you are raising the right questions, we cannot help but support them. Even in this case, the question that comes to my mind is that harassment, sexual harassment, this is not a civil matter, this is a criminal matter, and whether these complainants approach the police or not, whether the police refused them, and that is the reason they had to go to these internal committees and complain, etc., etc. That is a question that also must be answered. Where was the police all those times? If somebody is harassing, it doesn't matter whether he's a diplomat, a civil servant, a common man. The police also had to take some action. What their FIRs, what their inquiries, what their investigations, where were the charge sheets? Therefore, if there has been no investigation on the part of the police, that question needs to be raised as well. And in this case, the present case that we are talking about, only after the media highlighted the entire incident did the police act. Before that, the police was in hibernation. They were trying to save this particular offender, who now it turns out to be is probably a serial offender. Therefore, in this case, we cannot let the union government who controls the police go scot-free either. And regarding the LG snooping in every detail of the Delhi government, what was the LG doing? Why did he allow the promotion or whatever the Delhi government allowed this person?
Okay.
The LG should also be held responsible.
Okay, LG should also be held responsible. Quick response, Neeti Jain, please. And why did police not file complaints? That's another question coming in.
The police filed the complaint, and the police had said they were in touch with the accused. The only reason the arrest was done after 8 days apparently was because the girl, the child, was going through a lot of therapy, and the statements that she gave were not admissible in court because of all the medication and all those things are happening. So when the statement was taken, the action, she was arrested. But the police was on the case. Why don't you
no, but
tell
Neeti
me
Jain,
all
that
the
is that
committees
Neeti
in the
Jain,
past
let me come in
for-
here. Let me come in here. Brinda Adige is also on the panel. We all know in POXO cases, the arrest should be immediate. That did not happen. So there is a lapse on part of the police. Is there not, Brinda Adige?
Yes, there are 2 aspects to the case of this sexual predator. One is the POXO case, immediate arrest. There are no excuses. You do not even have to go to the magistrate to get the 164. The 164 statement can be done later. So the Delhi police is certainly somebody who hasn't done their job. Secondly, you need to understand that POSH IC committee has to be within the department.
Right.
Which means the aggrieved person, the aggrieved woman comes and makes a complaint at the department first.
Let me take that question to Romesh Sabarwal. Let me take that question.
Go to the police.
Let me take that question.
Why did the department not generate a report to this effect?
POSH committee was not there. One of the complainants claims, Mr. Romesh Sabarwal, what Brinda Adige is also referring to, one of the complainants claims that there was no committee, there was no internal complaints committee. Can you beat that? Leave alone government, even private companies are supposed to have such a committee. But in this government department, there was none is the claim, at least of one of the complainants. And that's very, very
Good
shocking.
evening. Good evening. This type of selection of a man as the OSD to the minister, the total system in the government of Delhi is collapsed. This shows that. The purpose of social welfare department, the purpose of women and child development department is totally befitted. How the man has got selected? Where was the director of social welfare? Where was the principal secretary social welfare? Where was the chief secretary? Everybody has approved the file. There should be a proper inquiry into this, how these things have not been brought into the knowledge of these bureaucrats. That is a habitual harassment to the women. Number one, the minister should resign. Mr. Gahlot, who has handpicked, and he was not aware. If he's not aware of this, this means that he doesn't know the department fully, whatever he is holding a charge. So my submission is that dignity of women, women dignity is most important. Safety of a woman in the government department is not
Akhil Khan,
This is
Akhil Khan, respond to that.
This shows
You have
the
Ramesh Sabharwal
accountability
saying that the
has
minister
no
should
place.
resign
The
because
LG
he
should-
did not know his job
LG
and he
should
didn't do
listen
it properly.
LG should.
I must say LG must resign or terminated with immediate effect.
Why
He
LG,
the
sir?
Person, he the LG, the only person who is in charge of the administration and all those government authorities. And
Mr.
he is in
Kejriwal,
charge of-
the ministers
in charge
don't
of
have
Delhi.
any accountability according
He
to
is
Mr.
not
Akhil Khan.
taking any action.
Okay.
And what Delhi police?
Okay, we'll have to leave it there. Nidhi Jain, Brinda Adige, Ramesh Sabharwal, Zeeshan Haider, Akhil Khan, and Anirban Banerjee. I'd like to thank all of you for joining us this evening. But the question is this. The question is, what kind of a government do we want for the national capital of Delhi? And can such predators be allowed to get away in positions of power? There are serious questions of all authorities because at the level of the minister, at the level of the Commission for Women, at the level of the Chief Minister also, at the level perhaps even of the LG. Let's not spare anyone, and the Delhi police. There are some very serious questions. But these questions certainly are raised in the context of the shocking revelations of this predator who continued in his position of power despite the fact that there were multiple complaints against him and very few of them, or perhaps none of them, have reached the logical conclusion that. Leave it there for the moment, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks so much for joining us on this debate.